Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt, and today we're going to be talking about my February favorites for 2024. I have never made one of these videos before. This is a new format for me, but I have a couple things that I want to talk about, so therefore I'm going to try filming this. Let me know if you like this style down in the comments below. I would love to use this format to talk more about books because I mostly talk about writing my own story and not so much about like the books that I'm reading. So if you're going to enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit like, and if you are not already subscribed, hit that big red subscribe button. And now without further ado, let's talk about my favorite things from February. Let's start with talking about the reading slump that I've been in. I have not finished a book in the last year until last week. But within the last year, I have not finished reading a book for fun on my own. As much as I enjoy editing for people on Fiverr, it really drains my motivation to read for fun, which I know is something that's very important. However, I finally finished reading a book and I have sped through book 2 of this series, and that is Fourth Wing. Say what you want about this book. I know that it's kind of controversial. I know that some people love it, some people don't love it. I will be honest that it is not the best writing I've ever read. There are typos, could have probably sustained like a pretty heavy edit to cut things down a little bit, but this book is just fun. And I needed like a really fun, lighthearted dragon book. I don't know why I ever questioned a dragon book, because dragon books are the only thing that ever pull me out of my reading slumps, but I read Fourth Wing. I started this probably about 4 months ago, and then I kind of fell off because I was not dedicating enough time to reading. But I was on vacation for like a week and a half, and I read this book by the pool for most of my trip, and I freaking devoured it. But it was just like a really, really good time. And I was able to get this copy when I first started seeing it on Book Talk. And the reason that I first bought this book was because the versions that I were seeing were like the special edition sprayed edges. And I just was like, I don't care if I read it or not, I just want this book because of the sprayed edges. But I ended up really enjoying the story. I think the dragons are fun. And I absolutely adore how much attention a dragon book has gotten, which as a dragon book author, hoping to start publishing in the next, soonish. And this being the year of the dragon, I just freaking love the fact that there is a really, really hyped dragon book out there that was fun to read. But then of course, I finished this on my vacation and I already owned the second book, but I didn't bring it with me because I was not prepared enough. I also love how the covers are shiny, but I already owned this book, which I did not buy in time because this book had already blown up with the special edition like painted edges. So I was not able to get the special edition painted edges for this one. But I already owned this book, but I was on vacation and I didn't bring this one with me. So I ended up buying this one in ebook format and started reading it on my phone, which took a lot of getting used to because I don't want to read. I don't want to stare at my phone while I'm reading, especially because then I get distracted because Instagram is like a swipe and a click away. Or if people are texting me or whatever, like it's so easy to hop over and do other things, which I just do not want to do. So I started reading the second book on my phone, and now I'm 40% of the way through. And now that I'm finally back in Utah, I'm going to switch back over to reading a physical copy. Again, not the best writing in existence. However, fun dragon books. I'm enjoying reading them. I'm having a great time. This one is a little bit thicker than the first one, and it is taking me a while to get through it. I am a slow reader, which might surprise some people, and so it is definitely taking me a while, but I'm having a lot of fun with these, and I'm so happy that I had a vacation to really get into this one and speed through it, and now I'm on the second one. I did not get this book in February, but I do feel like it deserves an honorable mention, and that is Legends of Ash and Dust. This is an indie published book that I actually had the pleasure of working with the author on, and it's like a little bit reminiscent of the first Throne of Glass book, and I by no means need to be mentioning this in a video, but I really enjoyed it, so therefore I wanted to share it. And all of these books and everything else mentioned in the video will be linked down in the description box below. But the back of this book goes like this. They forged her into a weapon, now she is the last. Arona was raised by legends. The Shea warriors are the closest thing this world has to the supernatural. Fearless warriors who train their entire lives to protect the realm, or they were, until the massive Red Wolf army attacked, slaughtering them all in a single night. Now brokenhearted and defeated, Arrow is the last Shea. Tasked with protecting Neuron, the prince her people were carrying caring for, she journeys to his home in the Golden City with one thing in mind: revenge. Nothing is as it seems in Neron's home, the Palace of the Golden City. Erona's enemies are lurking around every corner. The Emperor is blackmailing her into becoming his assassin, and an ex-Shay librarian is convinced that Ero has the long-forgotten Shay power hidden inside her. Caught between two worlds, Erona must kill, spy, and betray to discover what her people hid from her, even if it means unlocking the magic this world has long been starved of. I thought this was a very fun fantasy novel. If it sounds interesting, links down in the description. Because I have been in a reading slump for a while, I've gotten really into a couple of TV shows, which is honestly pretty new for me because it's not like crazy new. I've seen TV shows before, but I am definitely a YouTube kid where like most of what I watch is on YouTube. I'll watch movies, I'll watch TV shows, but if I'm looking for something casual to watch or like have on in the background, I almost always go to YouTube instead of a streaming platform. So recently, I have been really into Suits. I never thought that I would watch a TV show. Obviously, it's a drama. It's not reality at all. But I never thought that I would be into like a drama on lawyers. And I think it's been out for a while and Meghan Markle is in it. And so like, it's just kind of like a weird thing because I didn't know about Meghan Markle until she married into the royal family. And then of course, watching the show where she's like, you know, involved in one of the main romance plots is just like very interesting. But I'm having a lot of fun watching this TV show. I also recently started rewatching Game of Thrones, which I've only seen through once. As in, I've only seen each episode one time because when I started watching it, I was, I think like early college and the first like 3 or 4 seasons were out. Maybe it was more than that because the 8th season came out in my last semester of college. But backtracking for like 2 seconds, I got through the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones and then I stopped watching because there were not enough dragons. And then I heard that my favorite professor at my university was teaching a class on the books and like the medieval historical texts that she thought inspired the characters of Game of Thrones. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to take that course. So then I caught up on the seasons 4 through 7, and then season 8 started coming out when I was taking that class. Obviously, just like everybody else, did not love season 8. But starting to rewatch Game of Thrones after I kind of know the gist of everything that happens because I've watched it through once, I didn't care enough about any of the characters when I was watching through like the first time because there were so many of them. I was just kind of getting lost and I didn't remember people's names. But now that I've seen it in its entirety or saw it several years ago, it is so much fun to like start rewatching because I'm starting to pick up on and really appreciate all of the foreshadowing that happens in the earlier seasons. And I know what the characters end up doing, so I can get more attached to certain characters because I understand where their plotline is going. But even one of the foreshadowing things, like I knew that Daenerys Targaryen's braids get more and more elaborate as the story goes. I thought that was just costume and hair doing fun things and having a good time. But there's a line in the TV show where like every braid for, now I'm forgetting the name of the writer people, but they do braids for every like battle they've won or whatever. So then now watching through, noticing how her hair just gonna get more and more elaborate is going to be so much fun. And I'm having such a good time rewatching Game of Thrones, which feels ridiculous because it's such an epic fantasy story that it feels like this is something that I should have done again sooner. But I think knowing how season 8 ends is such a letdown. So I was not going to start this on my own. So I started watching it with somebody and I'm so excited to keep watching Game of Thrones again. Another thing I need to mention, because I watched it on February 29th, is Dune Part 2. I'm obviously not going to say any spoilers, but it was probably, I think it is the best sequel I've ever seen. It was absolutely stunning. Highly recommend it. That's the mention. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is that I have a new favorite mug. I'm starting to have more and more friends that run small businesses and are indie authors, and I would love to start like mentioning them more. But this mug is from Estelle at Alpine Reflections, and it is the Arch in Arches National Park. Her account is Alpine Reflections on Instagram. She is actually in my writing group. So it's been a lot of fun getting to know her as like a writer, but then also getting to go visit her at an art fair where she was selling this. And it kind of looks like a starry like evening. And so I was like, I have to have that. I've had so much fun going to Arches National Park. It was the first national park that I went to when I moved out to Utah. Going up to this arch in the park, I almost passed out because I ran out of water and it was like a 92-degree day. And let's just say that I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about my hiking ability ability since then, and I am now much more prepared when I go hiking. However, this mug I freaking adore. I highly recommend checking her out if you are looking for any of these. She also makes really cute mushroom planters. Most of my plants are too big for them, so I do not have one of those yet. If I end up with a smaller plant or succulents, I might have to get some of those in the future. So those are some of my favorite things from February. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!